Welcome, space friends. This is our first match of Day 4 of the NEO2 2. I'm CCP Fozzie, joined by CCP Rise, and this is about as good as a German ski lesson versus No Boundaries. The loser of this match will be eliminated from the NEO2, and we have a lot of nuding on the field. Why don't you tell us a bit about these setups, Rise?
I was going to say that picture right there sums up this match in a lot of ways. That Armageddon we have. No Boundaries going with a double Armageddon setup. And that's supported by an EOS and a Neros, and then a couple frigates, 2 Merlins and a Malediction, it looks like. And then on the other side, for about as good as a German ski lesson, they've brought an Armageddon along with a Navy Dominix, and then a pair of Celestises to go with their own Neros and their support wing. So, yeah, a lot of newts. Navy Dominix, obviously the big standout difference. This looks a lot like the setup they brought yesterday, German ski lesson.
Very, very similar, yeah. That one had a Balgorn instead of the Armageddon, but this one I think gains some more powerful damping instead. And you see the control bar for both teams pretty huge, but it is a lot bigger for German ski lessons, partially because of those damps. I think getting those damps on the Neros will be pretty important. They applied to all three, the Geddons and the Aneros, as the match begins. And
yeah, we are underway. You can see also the way the ranges are set up there. Obviously, German ski lesson coming in at max range with their entire fleet, where No Boundaries decided to kind of spread out. So they warped the Armageddons in a little closer, and then the EOS and the Aneros a bit behind that, and then the Frigs way in the back.
Yeah, one of the things I really like about the Celestises on the German ski lesson team, they're not only a source of damping, but for a good team, they're actually a source of rep drones as well.
Right.
They do have a 50 meter cube drone bay, 50 megabit bandwidth, and so you can drop 5 medium armor rep drones, which actually, those 10 drones are a pretty big upgrade to their logistics capabilities.
Yep.
And it's going to help them keep the Celestes and keep each other at the moment alive under the sentry fire from the Armageddons.
So it will take a little bit before the kind of max potential damage gets going in this match, because partly or mostly because of the Navy Dominix. The Armageddons can have a range of weapons in their tops. It could be all newts. It could also be that they have missile launchers or lasers up there. Yep. And so we'll have to see kind of as they move towards each other, which they are doing, and how the damage starts to pick up.
So we're seeing the whole about as good as the German ski lesson team kind of pulling back slowly, and then the No Boundaries team is sending a couple of ships out front and then back. I think that's their interceptors, is it, that are up at the front of the
yeah,
Merlin, or the Merlins. Okay, Merlins. Yeah. So they've been sending those out basically to try to bait damage, I think, to scout at the front, but so far almost no damage has been applied from the German ski lesson team. They are definitely taking this slow.
Yep, and we can see, like you said, a lot of medium armor maintenance bots on the side of German ski lesson, and then curators dropped for No Boundaries. So No Boundaries is actually shooting. It doesn't look like German ski lesson is actually bothered trying to put any damage in quite yet.
Yeah, but we are seeing now some drones going across the field. There's some augmented Hobgoblins. Yep. Those are heading across the field from the German ski lesson, so we're going to see some damage start to apply. It'll be interesting to see who they put it on, and it will be one of the Merlins.
Yep, one of those Merlins who's actually pretty far away. Of course, so Neros has a pretty good range on him, so unless he's damped bad, he should be able to cover that, although he's not actually damped at all right now, so that'll be no problem. You see the Merlin catching reps there.
That may be a ploy, though. They may be about to place all of their damps on the Neros, switching it to it. That's been a pretty common tactic, although actually they pulled the drones back instead.
Yeah.
I think this is a very, very cautious start for both teams. We see this from a lot of very high-skill teams. They don't want to commit early. They don't want to get out of position, so they wait until the perfect opportunity. So I think very much like the Rampage Thingy match that we saw, although these are very, very different setups.
I was going to say, the big difference between that match and matches like it and this match is that these teams are so much slower. I mean, it can't kind of all come tumbling down as soon as one person gets engaged, because the ships on the field are just so much slower, and there's still quite a bit of range between them as well, like, you know, probably 40 or 50K between them, and so it'll be a bit still. It looks like the German ski lesson battleships are actually picking up speed there, getting up to 600 or so.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see when they start applying their damage. The Celestis is taking quite a bit of damage, but of course wrapping it up just fine with all the help from the Aneros and from the rep drones. It'll be one thing to watch out for on the UI at the bottom of your screen there, when you start seeing neutralizer icons appear on either side. Both teams have a whole lot of heavy neutralizing from the Armageddons and probably from the Navy Dominix as well, and those newts haven't been applied yet for this whole match because the teams have actually been too far away to use it, even with the range bonus. Once you start seeing newts apply back and forth, that's when you know that both teams are going to be starting that stage of the match where they're grinding each other's caps down behind the scenes.
Right. They need to get that underway pretty quickly, though. I mean, I guess both teams in a way are set up for a long match, but they're not going to get one if they wait much longer.
We see now a target painter applied to the Aneros for about as good as German ski lesson. That might suggest that it's about to become the primary, so it looks like No Boundaries may be about to test its tank, although we're not seeing any fire on it yet.
No, not really. There's a lot of medium armor maintenance bots out now for... Oh, still for German ski lesson. There is some curators down for them now, so I was going to say I saw curators over here and thought that No Boundaries had dropped rep drones, which they have a couple of, but
Yeah,
not many. Still basically the same thing going on. No Bound. Oh, there's a newt hitting the No Boundaries Armageddon. So that
yeah,
means
there we go. Newts are now applied from the German ski lesson team.
Yep.
Now, interestingly, there's no counter newts applied yet. That might be actually because of the damps.
Yep, very likely. Although now there's only damps on one of the Armageddons, the other one seems all right, and there goes some return newts.
Yeah. The German ski lesson team might be actually trying to. That's a pretty narrow band to stay in, where an area that they can apply their newts, but the other side can't because of dams. That's going to be only a couple of kilometers of leeway there.
No,
and now the teams are getting much closer to each other, so this match is going to start really getting underway.
Yep, Seldrine charging in there with that Navy Dominix, trying to get blasters on something as soon as possible, and it looks like they're going to go ahead and go straight for an Armageddon. Well, there he goes.
He's going right past the Geddon. He's going for something else.
First Geddon. Could be trying to go for the Oneros, but that's not tackled yet. So.
Oh, they're going for one of the Geddons here.
Yeah, one of the other Geddons
now,
further back. So.
Notably, there are no newts yet on the Navy Dominix Seldrine. That's going to actually be a ship that's very vulnerable to newting because it gets a lot of its damage from blasters. But the Geddon newts right now are... Oh, there we go. Now it's being applied as well. It looks like the No Boundaries team started applying all their newts to the Geddon. That actually may have been an intentional attempt to move the Geddon in first to pull the newts onto Blue Melon and then move Seldrine in past him. But now they've switched over to what is definitely the better target for them.
And it looks like not only have they switched the newts over to him, but also all their damage.
Yeah,
I believe they've got the Oneros damped, and he's down through shields, and
he's
now
not getting
starting to
reps
take armor
now
damage.
yet. So that Oneros needs to move in. Oh, there you go. The Oneros now has reps on him. That may mean, however, the Oneros might start getting close enough to get neuted itself, though. So that's going to be if you see any newts apply to either of the Oneroses for either team, then it's going to be a very huge game.
Yeah.
Both teams with a huge filled control bar. That's mainly coming from those newts now, which are all being applied.
Yep, and yeah, like you said, seeing that's actually having. So No Boundaries just lost a Merlin. They also have damps on their Oneros now. So I mean,
and newts.
Yeah.
That's a
damps
big
pulled that
problem for
Oneros in close enough that they could neutralize him, and he wasn't
able to get the reps onto that Merlin. So the one of the things that German ski lesson can really take advantage of here is they have a much stronger support wing. The frigates of 2 Vengeances and a Merlin, much stronger than a Malediction and 2 Merlins, which means that once they can get the Oneros off of repping the frigates for No Boundaries, they were able to apply the damage from the Vengeances, get in there and finish them off quite quickly. And that's every single one of these frigates they take down means less tackle on the battleships. It means less E-War. There's probably going to be damps on those Merlins. Getting them off the field is definitely a big game. And that Navy Dominix is tanking just fine. I think No Boundaries really felt like they needed to knock that Dominix down and get it off the field. But it is still firing. Like, it's not fully neuted out. It's probably got a cap booster. It's still able to fire its guns. And meanwhile, the first get-in for No Boundaries is already in half armor.
Yeah, this is sliding against No Boundaries pretty quickly here. The Oneros really, finally has newts on him now. The German ski lesson Oneros. I was going to say, because of how well Seldrine was tanking, he had pulled back, and he was actually pretty good range from the fight and not really under any pressure, which I thought was pretty smart. But now it looks like he's gotten close enough that they've got some newts on him, and painters and webs as well. So they're going to try and make a target switch now and go for that logistics on the ski lesson side. They need to do it fast,
though.
Yes,
they don't kill that Oneros fast. When that Geddon goes down, that's going to be about a third of their damage and half of their neuting power. It's a huge part of this team, and there it drops. That's one of the Geddons down for German ski lesson. However, the Oneros for German ski lesson is going into structure.
There you can see that Malediction right on top of him, and he should still go down even with that first Armageddon going down.
Yeah, at this point he's taking too much damage, and that's him down.
There he goes. So trade a logistics for one of the battleships. Have to think that's a good trade for German ski lesson, but we'll have to see. And the other thing that's happening here is it looks like most of the E-War pressure has really gone away from ski lesson and stacked up on No Boundaries. They're still under damp pressure from the Celestises, both their logistics as well as their battleship, and then neutralizers all the way across the board, whereas there's not even any neutralizers getting applied to the ski lesson team, which says to me that No Boundaries Geddon is capped out and struggling.
Yeah, the ski lesson side knows now that they need to take that Oneros down because they're fighting for the long game, and if you have the disadvantage of having your logistics down while the other one's up, that's going to create more advantage to the team with the Logi as the fight goes on. And so they've very smartly switched to the Oneros. They'd already had newts on it, and they moved their frigates to web it, and now it's going to drop. There's
He's
no
doing
way.
All right. By the way, the big story at this point is there's only 1 minute left in the match. So if somehow No Boundaries, losing logistics is going to put them basically out of range of winning the match. I was going to say that there's not any reps on that Navy Dominix, and if they could get him down, they might They
I
might
think
be
he's
able to
got
do
enough
that in a
effective
minute,
hit
but now they've
points.
lost the Neros.
There's just so much armor on
Yep.
these Navy dummies and so much hull that they're not going to be able to break through. And, well, as he is starting to drop. That being said, though,
yeah, he is dropping, but that's not enough, right? It's 18.
That would get them to 61, would it?
Oh, and then they could kill a Merlin.
Yeah, I mean,
they only have 30 seconds though.
That means so if you're the German ski lesson team, you need to pick off like a Merlin or a Malediction or something to keep yourself safe. Although they're just going for one of the Armageddons. We'll have to see. That Navy dummy looks like he is going to drop, and that will put no boundaries within 1 point if my math is correct.
Seldrine down.
Yes, it is. So it's 62 points to 61 with 12 seconds left. They need to snap kill a frigate.
No, not a Celestis.
They're going for a Celestis. I mean, it's a bigger target for the drones.
That's
but
true.
There's no. Oh, there's also Final Vengeance. They're not going to kill it in time. That is going to be a 1-point victory.
Oh, they just now look at that Vengeance.
Look at that Vengeance. Man, if they had another 5 seconds, though, of course, their Geddon would die in like 10 seconds. So that is the match. Extremely close there at the end.
Good
About
stuff.
as good as German ski lesson. Pulls it out. And no boundaries is now eliminated from the tournament. So we will see you back here in just 1 moment.